Good evening, everyone. How are you? One second, I'll just unmute you for a minute. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Apologies. I've got two conference calls this evening and I got my times a bit mixed up. Really sorry.
Don't feel sorry.
How are you all doing?
Good. Right?
I'm just going to show you my screen and we'll work through some details here. Rosemary Calder, I think you're phoning up. You need to put in a PIN in order to be heard, or perhaps on this call. It's a bit tricky when you ring from your phone. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to work through this. And what we'll do is, if you've any, I'm going to mute you all because there tends to be a lot of background noise. If you have questions, you can type them. And John Doyle, who's assisting tonight, he can see the questions and call them out. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes. Perfect. Thanks, Karen.
Okay, great. So listen, welcome to Conor Fitzgerald. He's on. Gemma Paris, John Doyle, Jose Villar, Karen Mason, Sandra Lobson, yeah. Sheila Jones, Yvette Fulton. You're all very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
What you can do is just check out. Just take a moment to check out the instructions here. You can raise your hand. You can type a message. So you can use those tools in a way if you want to get our attention. Okay. I'm going to mute you all. I'm just going to work through this list. So the VPPR call this evening is on radio interviews, newspaper articles, where to get new members, media room, and travelling Toastie. And for the radio interviews, in a way, it's just like a speech. You need to know your audience. You need to get your message across in such a way your audience understands it. And your audience wants to know what's in it for me. So they're the areas you want to cover in your radio interview. And what tends to happen is you get a radio interview as a result of a news release or an article you've published. So in your release, you'd keep the information current, local and fun. So perhaps you're going to tell them about your local club contest and who won and the various stages that it goes through, that they may go to. You can give some backstory to Toastmasters, both for your local area, your club, and also Toastmasters International. And then when I've gone too far. When you've landed the interview, what you do next? You can put together a media kit. Now, this is a pre-packaged set of promotional materials of a person, company, or organisation. In our case, it'll be Toastmasters, and it will be your club more than likely. And they're distributed to announce a release or a news conference. And if you have that manual, let the world know. It's around page 20 on Media Kit. And it's a good idea to prepare questions for the radio station, and so you have an idea what they're going to ask you. Include a bio. Many hosts will use this to introduce you while you're on air. And then obviously your plug, what you want the take-home to be from the audience of the radio station. And your host, he's more likely to say what your plug is if you've written it to him. Now, some of the questions you might like him to ask you would be, these ones. Why did you join Toastmasters? Basically questions where you're giving the general public information they're going to need to know in order to attend your meetings. The benefits, where and when it is, and what type of people are attracted to Toastmasters. before the interview, it's always good to research your show so that you can tailor your message accordingly. The show that you're targeting perhaps is for a particular age bracket, and so you target your message accordingly. If it's a young age bracket, you might talk about presentations for work or interview skills. If it's an older bracket, you might say, great social events in the evening, great way of meeting people. So just target your message according to your audience. Again, it's like giving a speech. And then if you know how long your interview is going to be, is it 5 minutes or 25 minutes? And again, tailor your answers. I suggest you have 3 key messages and do them in sound bites so that you can get the message across quickly. Sometimes you have to answer a question that your host gives you and then segue to your key message. So if the message is compelling, the host is going to ask more. I suggest you practice your sound bites before the interview. So you want to communicate your main points succinctly. And you could ask, before the interview takes place, could you get a copy of the interview? And they'll usually give you an MP3 recording of it. And that can be very handy for a website, for your club websites. You can always ask. So for the interview, you're having your interview, what I suggest, always compliment your host. Say something nice about their program or that you enjoy listening to it, lots of current news, whatever it might be, and then use their name throughout. People like to feel that connection. And be respectful of your host and the audience, goes without saying. And when it comes to your energy, the audience don't see you, so if you can energetically match your host or even slightly higher, so you don't sound flat. And if you're in the studio, always make eye contact with your host. Again, you plug your key message a few times throughout your interview. And if you don't use jargon or acronyms or various DTMs or ACBs, your audience probably don't know what you're talking about. So if you can keep those out of it. And don't oversell. We have a phenomenal resource to offer the audience. And just talk about your benefits. Some radio interviews, they will phone you and do the interview over the phone. And just to bear in mind that when they do phone you, you'll probably be straight into the interview. So be ready and turn off your radio to avoid that feedback that you can get. And if possible, be in a quiet room, have a glass of water. Be ready on time to receive the call. And if you can, use a landline. Usually the quality is better. And your club, you know a lot about it, so be confident in your ability. And you have access to a wonderful resource. And even though it's on the radio, smile. The audience will feel that in your responses. And if you smile, you'll just come across that bit more relaxed. If you're at home, stand up while giving the interview. I think energetically it just works better. And reread the press release or pitch that got you the booking. Chances are you'll be asked questions on that. And if after the interview, write a thank you note. Very few do this, and you might even get invited back. And the bottom line is just relax, enjoy it. So that's some information on. I'm just going to unmute you there for a moment, just in case you have any questions. How was that for everyone? Was there... Okay, you're all unmuted. Was there anything in that information that you want more clarification on?
It's okay.
It's okay. Okay, great. So newspaper articles. Sorry?
Yeah, I think with the thank you notes, it sounds to me a bit American, and to make it more relevant to us is you say something about the program and be grateful about something maybe the person in the radio said to us to keep something relevant in his mind of our radio show with him.
Okay. So Jose, is it?
Yes. Oh, the
Jose,
Spanish accent. Give it away, yeah?
Yes. Well, I knew you weren't Sandra. Thank you, Jose, for writing that. The next point was
Sorry to
Yes?
interrupt there. Rose has a question there. I don't know, Rose, if you want to ask yourself. It's. Did you want to come in yourself, Rose? Okay. Well, Rose was wondering about whether you could give a 10 or 15-second explanation of what is Toastmasters, and explanation is usually with a funny personal story. What Rose is saying is she is a radio presenter and has given radio interviews.
Fantastic. If only we could hear Rose and she could actually answer that question herself. That would be wonderful.
Where is she?
She's muted herself. I think she's phoning from a mobile phone, and I can't get to her. But you know, that could be a great suggestion, is have a funny story. You know, we all have our reasons why we joined Toastmasters. I think if you can keep it, personal, the more personal the story is, the more you're going to find the audience are going to connect with you. So, any more questions there? We move on. Okay. The newspaper articles. Now, there's a couple of things I'd like to say about this. Is on the website, the D71 website, or the district D71 Toastmasters.org website, there's information about writing an article where we have an external publicist, Chantal, and she usually will seek out publications that will run with our articles. They need to be she's quite particular about the way they are presented, and it's no harm reading through that information, because if she likes to present it that way, chances are publications that you would approach directly would also like it that way, so it's worth taking a look at it. And just on the side, there was an article recently in the Irish Farmers Journal about a woman who was nervous of speaking in church. She wanted to do readings and she was too nervous, and it's like it was an Ask Miriam section, and Miriam wrote back with a suggestion of her going to an evening class. When I saw that, I see if I can find it now quickly. When I saw that, I wrote back with an article. Oh, can I find it quickly? Anyway, do you know, I wrote back with an article.
Karen, can I just interrupt? Rose actually came up with another great suggestion. During your interview with the presenter, invite them to a meeting.
Perfect. Yes.
Now, perhaps tee up the presenter in advance, because you don't want them to say no on the radio interview. But certainly, absolutely, if you can talk to him in advance and ask him whether he'd be interested in coming to a meeting, then when you're online, certainly invite him, yes.
That'd be lovely. Sorry, who suggested that?
Rose again.
Rose, brilliant. Rose, write in all your suggestions. We'll talk about radio interviews, obviously your area. That's fantastic, thank you. So in this article, I replied with an experience that I had with speaking as a child, and finally finding Toastmasters and not looking back. And she went and she printed it last week. So you could, if you see any articles in the papers where people lack confidence or something about public speaking, answer them. You're in the right area to be giving them advice on coming to Toastmasters. But take a look at the newspaper articles or the information on the District 71 website. Where and how to get new members. So one of you asked me, could I give some information on this? Again, if you go into d71toastmasters.org, I've just put up a new article on attracting new members, and it's to do with working on your website. Meetup is another one, Facebook, all the areas that would attract members. And just here's some examples of where you might look. There are various programs. The Speechcraft is a great way of attracting new members, where you would go to a group and put on Speechcraft for 6 to 8 sessions. Or for corporate, you could put on a Speechcraft leadership day. There's many variations of Speechcraft that you could do. Approach members of the community organisations, schools and colleges again, government officials, the Chamber of Commerce, business community leaders, And again, members that are specialised community areas. So the community at large, it's a great way. There's lots out there, and take a look and see who you can approach. Are there any questions on that? Any questions there, John? No. Great. The media room, this is something that we're doing in the district conference this year. I had put up an incentive about video testimonials, taking little videos of members in your club, posting them on Facebook or on your website, and there would be an overall best of at the end of the year. And I thought at the district in November, it would be nice if we could provide you with a room that's set out for you to take these video testimonials or interviews. And so the room is going to be manned and womaned, I suppose, by John Doyle, Sandra Losty, and also Brendan Houghton. And the room's going to be available throughout the weekend at certain times. It'll be set up with lights, there'll be a video camera and generic Toastmaster banners. And so the idea is that you would contact us, that you'd be interested in whatever, 5, 10, 15-minute slots, that you'd look to either you host an interview or be interviewed by one of our panel, and you would have a memory card, save the interview on the memory card, and then take it away with you, so as you can upload it to your website or Facebook. And so if you're interested in the media room, contact us and we can organise a slot for you.
Karen, how should we contact? Should it be through you, or how should we do that?
You could do it through me. You could do it through either the D71 leadership team website or just my email address, caroldonald.d71@gmail.com. I'm sure you have my email address if you're from the invite to this call. My email address will be there. Contact me. That would be wonderful.
Perfect.
And then the travelling Toastie. Has everybody heard of this, or are there some people who are still unsure what it is?
Don't know.
I don't know what it is, Karen.
I don't know either.
Okay. So the travelling Toastie it's a way of getting members to move outside of their club. You know, we all join Toastmasters to improve our communication skills, but we didn't all join Toastmasters to stay within the Toastmaster room. So this is a way of stretching outside your comfort zone, going to a different club to perhaps do a role or even give a speech. And what it does is it gets you to speak to a different audience. It also means that the club you're visiting gets a fresh approach to a role or gets to hear your style of speaking. And so it's really good for both parties, both the new club and yourself travelling. And if you do this with 3 different clubs that you're not a member of, you become an official travelling Toastie. And we're also having an overall division Toastie, where in March, whoever gets the highest points within the travelling Toastie programme within the division, they'll get an overall award. So there are points for if you do a role, or if you give a speech, or if you get the extra points if you visit a club with less than 15 members. And you also get points if you post a video testimonial of the club you're visiting. So it's a great way of promoting the club you're visiting. And I think it just brings Toastmasters to the public through Facebook.
Karen, just to mention, Rose is feeling very frustrated on not being able to talk herself. I'm trying to pass on her thoughts. She tells me Luton loves the travelling Toastie.
Lucan does. Luton or Lucan?
Luton.
Oh, very good. Brilliant. Thank you, Rose.
Although I think Lucan do as well. Rose also mentioned, just in relation to the speechcraft, that she was successful in getting 12 people from the council to pay for speechcraft £500 for 12 people who were participating in job seekers, and And also, yeah, if you ask the presenter on air, he won't say no. Okay, we'll put him under pressure.
Brilliant. That's fantastic, Rose. That was great for the people and the job seekers. That's brilliant.
There's a question here from Karen.
Yes.
Is there a Speechcraft manual or book to use?
There is a Speechcraft manual, and you can use them. It is a bit American, so you might like to tailor it. But you can get those from TI. They work out, actually, how much do they work out? The youth leadership's about a 5 or a head. So Speechcraft is probably something similar. Are there any other questions there?
That's it for the moment.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. A lot of the resources, you will find them on the district website. And that's d71toastmasters.org. You're all unmuted unless you've muted yourself. So if you want, you can come in with your own experience of what you've found. If any of you want to add in there.
Could you just say how many people were on that Speechcraft course, please?
I think Rose said, did you say 8? With the Speechcraft, I would limit it to 10, because then you can get around the people, with 4 to 6 sessions. I think maximum is usually 8 sessions, and you really need probably 2 Toastmasters to accommodate them.
Okay. Rose has just said 4 people every 8 weeks.
4 people. Is she doing it on her own? I'd say with 4, is it?
You must do, Karen. Yeah.
Okay. But there's a lot of background noise there. Wow, what's that? Speechcraft is great in that you can tailor make it to fit the group that you're in. Rose has done 4 people each time. That's a lovely number for one person to work with. If you had 2 Toastmasters, you might go to 10. But really, you can tailor make it to suit yourselves. You could also use Speechcraft for an hour before your own meetings. Tie it in that way, get more of your members involved in it. And it's a way where you can earn money for your club because you can charge Speechcraft. So it's all good. Has anybody done Speechcraft?
Yes, I have.
How did you find it?
Oh, it was great. We got I was part of the club a few months before I did it, and it definitely is that kind of course that if you do it before you do a Toastmasters meeting, you understand the roles better.
Brilliant. And is that ongoing with Luke and Sandra, where you do Speechcraft before the meeting, or is it just now and then?
No, it wasn't. Oh, sorry, we did do it before the meeting, as in physically the session was before the meeting. But I mean, if I had done Speechcraft before I did any Toastmasters, I probably would have understood the roles a little bit better.
Okay. That's great.
Actually, Rose has come back again, Karen and Sandra, and she says that's what they do 1 hour prior to the meeting.
Yeah.
And she's telling me she's done it 3 times, 2 times in the USA and once in England.
Fantastic, Rose. That's brilliant.
God, I wish Rose could talk.
Yeah. Rose, you have to go through your computer next time. Yeah, it's a great way, because usually then you don't pay anything extra for your room, so you're getting your Speechcraft without paying room costs effectively. So that's fantastic. Does anybody have any questions on what we covered this evening or their own experiences?
Karen, could you talk us through what is the D71 website you mentioned earlier?
Okay, I'm going to go find it then. Okay, 1 second. Okay. So this is the District 71 website. Can you all see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So this is d71toastmasters.org. It routinely gets mixed up with the Easy Speak, which is often referred to as D71. So if we have the incentives here, the traveling Toastie is here. This is where you can download your form, gives you some information on it. Here there's an online form, that's the best one to use. However, the traveling Toastie form here is the one that's regularly used for photos. You might have seen some photos of various clubs with this form. That's the one that we do for the photos. But yeah, the online form, when you key in your details, it'll automatically go to a spreadsheet. So it's all updated automatically. Your details go in there. So that's the traveling Toastie. Let me go back a little bit now. Oh. Actually, I'm in admin here. So the resources, some PR resources here that I mentioned. So if we go down, writing an article for Chantal, if you look in here, you'll find details, the type of article she wants, how she wants it written, and if you're successful in her being able to have one published, you'll go into a draw for a conference ticket. So that's a nice incentive, and there's some examples of various articles she has had published. And then further down we have attract new members for your club, and that walks you through what the goals are, is to increase the number of members, and if we can get an extra 2 guests per meeting. And we take a look at a few angles. We look at the website, I mentioned that, Meetup, Facebook, the information to have on your website. There's some great information there that I'm hoping you'll all find of benefit. So going back to the page, the news and events is here. I've just uploaded today individual contest speakers from Limerick. So they're the guys with their individual speeches. This is the website. There's a lot of information on it. All the incentives are there from the PR perspective. Take a look. You'll find some there that your members will be really keen on getting involved with. The best testimonial video is there. So there's a lot of information on it, and there's information you'd like to see on it. Do let us know. It's only by you feeding back to us and giving us feedback that we can improve it.
Karen, quick question.
Yeah.
From Karen, is there anyone or any guides on how to update your website that you'd recommend?
Now, that attract new members to your club, that has some pointers on updating your website. So they take a look at that, what information should be on the front page. People go to your website and they say that if you haven't engaged them in 4 to 6 seconds, they will leave your website page. So having information about your officers or that you're distinguished will mean absolutely nothing to somebody who's never been to Toastmasters. So it's more the front page should list the benefits, improve your public speaking, social engagement, whatever it might be. That information needs to be on the front page. Thank you, Karen, for that question.
Karen, can I say, I think having tips is great, but if you don't have a framework of how something, works well, the tips can kind of fall through the gaps. Do you know what I mean? So if there were some samples put up of a good media message or a good, newspaper, I don't know what they're called. What do you call them in your newspaper?
Okay, this is a news release I did.
That's it, yeah.
For Simon.
Yeah.
And I can pass this on to people. There's also, so this is the one that we did just before he went to Washington. You can't quite see properly. So that's information basically on, you have something catchy to grab their attention and a bit of information on it.
And Karen, would you be able to put on that as well, or I don't know where you put it on the page, but tell us why it was a good piece.
Okay, yeah. What we have also, let me just show you this if I can find it quickly. If I can find it quickly. There is an article, there's a manual that's downloadable. And it's called Let the World Know.
Go back, Karen. It was in the last screen.
Oh, okay. I'll find it this way as well, John.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, it's just playing up now. So docs. Let the world know. This is a brilliant PR document as such. And so tips on working with the news media. It goes, if I go to the very, very top of the, you get an outline of what it does. Information of what to put on a press release. I'm just going to the, oh, there we are, okay. Contents. So it goes through news media, social media, creating a media list. A lot of information. If you read through that, that's where I've gone to. I've gone here, I've seen the templates, and I've just copied them pretty much. And it has worked. So I'd say this should be your first port of call if it's a new area for you. It goes through writing pitches, selling story ideas. A lot of information in this. It's a big document, 62 pages. So keep it on your computer and refer to it, is what I'd say. Fantastic. Are there any other questions on that? Any more comments?
No, that sounds good.
Okay. Do let me know if there's something that you would like covered on these calls, and we'll do our best to facilitate that. If there's nothing else, then we can close this conference call.
Karen, when you're looking for ideas around how we could kind of market ourselves in some way, was that this call or the call previously?
There's a call. The next call this evening is for the bright ideas, the PR tips.
Ah, okay, grand. I'll hold it till then.
Yeah, that's the 9:30 threw me, and I thought this was 8:30. So
Yeah.
so that's that call. This is more connecting with the VPPRs.
Yeah.
And areas they might find useful. So I'd be delighted to hear back from you. Feel free to email me, or if there's information that I've given here that you'd like to see again, let me know and I can email that to you.
Thanks a million.
You're more than welcome. Thank you all for taking part. Thank you.
See you later. Bye.